Welcome to the Friends in Business podcast with your hosts, Ben Wright and Jemimah Ashleigh. Ben, known as the sales strategist, and Jemimah, our resident visibility expert, are here to share their wealth of knowledge and experience with a little fun along the way. Whether you're a leader, entrepreneur, or aspiring business owner, this is the podcast where we share everything we know about business to help you succeed. Let's get started. Welcome to the Friends in Business podcast.
Jemimah, welcome to Friends in Business episode Take 2.
What happened to Take 1?
Ben forgot to press record.
Great. And so it meant we lost the best commentary.
It was a good start, but to be fair, it was only a few minutes. And, to summarise it, you tried to kill my wife's octopus trinket. We then evolved the conversation that we're going to have to start recording at your house. I mentioned that you got a cat that I could terrorise. You got really upset with me, and then somehow we got onto the animal theme being one that you're having at your 40th birthday.
I am.
Jurassic Park in Hawaii.
Yes, we are going to Jurassic Park. Let me be really clear about this, because you telling people I'm having a Jurassic Park themed birthday is not totally true. Jurassic Park is my favourite movie. I love dinosaurs. That's not a secret.
T-Rex cake.
Absolutely. You bet. And my favourite movie, Jurassic Park, 40th is in Hawaii, and we're going to go to Kauai Ranch where they film Jurassic Park.
Do you know what I've been wondering since you sent the invitation after your 40th? I've been wondering if you're going to wear one of those dinosaur costumes with a big long tail.
I am going exclusively dressed as Sam Neill, and you guys are going to be wearing dinosaur outfits.
Oh, you know those outfits that kids wear, and they're in their T-Rex outfits, and they come with that long tail, and they got the hood over the top, and they're very, very cute. I think you should wear that.
I think you should wear it, and we'll get you got the inflatable one.
Do you know me well enough that I would have no problems doing that.
No, I know.
Self-deprecation is something I'm very, very, very cool with. And if it means it's a T-Rex, then I'm happy to be a killer in disguise.
It's no disguise, my friend. No disguise. But yeah, I'm turning 40, which I had some hesitations about, honestly. I always thought 40 was really an adult, very grown up. I don't know if I feel like a typical 40-year-old.
Well, here's some of the telltale signs from a 42-year-old.
Go.
You start to make parent jokes, dad jokes or mum jokes.
I've done that since I was 21.
Right, well, then you're on your way.
Right.
You repeat your stories.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Not as often as you, but sometimes.
Yeah, the room gets too noisy.
Oh, tick.
Yeah, I want quiet. I can't hear myself think.
I don't want to go to a bar and not have to scream at people. That's exhausting.
Yeah, definitely. You start saying things like, back in my day.
I did say someone did refer to me as born in the 1900s the other day.
Yeah, perfect. And the last one, which I think is my favourite, is when you start to think all the behaviours of the next generation coming through are unique to them and you didn't do it. And the classic one is, this generation is so entitled.
Tick.
Yeah,
all right, I'm old.
Yeah, I think I don't know a generation that hasn't said the next generation coming through is entitled. So welcome to the 40s.
Thank you. I'm instantly hating this.
Yeah, great. Well, you're going to celebrate it with a Jurassic Park theme. Looking forward to it. All right, today we're here to talk about celebrations.
It's amazing.
It's funny, we didn't actually line that up about a birthday and talking about celebrations, all lining up for a terrific episode, so buckle in. For me, celebrations are huge. I have 5 pillars of any team that I work with: strategy, sales process, behaviours, metrics, rituals and celebrations, and finally training or coaching. And in our last episode 39, we had a really deep dive into the piece around changes in our business, and training came up in that. We spent a number of podcasts around strategy, and episode 31 and 32, we actually spoke about the sales process. So we've covered a lot of this over the last 40 weeks or so. But today, I wanted to have a good look at celebrations, why they're important, and how I see some terrific teams roll them out.
Yeah, because it is one of the things that as business owners, and just taking it a little bit from the teams to the sort of the macro level a little bit here, as bosses, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, how rarely we celebrate our wins. There is this moment where you would have been to, I know you've got a Marley, a 1-year-old's birthday party.
plenty.
Is that for Amali or is that for the parents?
Damn straight it's for the parents.
You guys made a year. We need to be celebrating that. You guys, you went through a rough year. That is a celebration just for them, really. And the 1-year-old's not going to remember it. They might get some cool toys, but it's for mum and dad.
Yeah.
As business owners, we are always looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
I've always likened any successes that I've had to climbing like Everest. And like you get up to the top, it's great. You get up to the beautiful vista, you do the view, and then you look over and you're like, what's next?
Yeah.
We very rarely take time to start looking at that view and look how far we've actually come.
Yeah.
And I think it's to huge detriment. And more importantly, I think it's huge detriment to our teams.
Yeah, look, as leaders, I don't know many leaders that when I ask the question, and I ask this all the time, who thinks they celebrate enough with a team, it's very rare that I have one put their hand up and say, I'm outstanding at that, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I will when I say who thinks they're on the top of their game at sales, I'll get hands go up, right? Who thinks they're a good leader? Yep, hands go up. Who thinks they're engaged in the development of their team and want to see them succeed? Hands go up. Yeah. Who tells their team that they're doing a good job enough? You can hear the birds chirp, right? Very, very rare. So for me, that's why I think it's worth spending some time on. And I've actually got some hacks or some strategies actually that float down into hacks that work really well around how you can celebrate as a team. So if you can, we might.
Let's go for it.
All right.
We're not just talking about birthday parties here, right?
No, look, at a fundamental level, the real basic is get someone in your team, a virtual resource, to document anniversaries, birthdays of your team members, spouses or kids, right? All that easy stuff that's nice to celebrate, like the footy team that they go for, the sports that they like, anything significant, any significant periods in their life that are worth that celebration. So easy. Yeah. Right, I have it documented in my diary. My whole team, I know their work anniversary and I know their birthday. Right, and every year they get at least a message, but often they get a little gift from me as well, right, to recognise that. And I will say I certainly am not one that's always been fantastic at celebrating progress. I think I'm getting a lot better at it as I teach it. But for me, where celebrations are really, really powerful is when we can align a team around a consistent purpose that we celebrate. And let me give you an example by breaking celebrations down into two types. Right, we have the rack and file type of celebrations around what we've just gone through: birthdays, anniversaries, anything around tenure within the business, anything even around hitting great sales results, hitting budget, hitting targets. Right, that's rack and file. Right, we see ball, we get ball, and we celebrate. And for me, that's all about making sure that we have reminders to celebrate that piece. Those reminders come down into diary entries, right, and making sure that we habitually are rolling into our meetings, whether they're sales meetings or operational meetings or anything else, right, that we have a section of that meeting that celebrates successes.
Great.
Right? I'm going to talk about a process behind making sure we do that in a moment.
So really you're looking at a team member / immediate supervisor level.
Yeah.
Like call outs, absolutely discussing the wins at the table.
Yep,
Love that.
Absolutely. Second part of celebrations is where we are gearing around specific goals, where we are trying to align the team around a sense of purpose. For example, it might be a goal around systemizing through a CRM. It might be a goal around 200 new customers for the business for the year. It might be a goal around net promoter score at a certain level, right? They're really specific goals that we like to set in.
Yeah.
Right. And for us to make progress on those, we need to be recognising progress and celebrating wins. Mm-hmm. And this is where a celebration program can become really impactful, right? If we can set down and define, okay, here's how we're going to recognise progress, right? And then here's how we're going to celebrate wins. Best one I've heard was they used a type of chocolate. Let's call it M&Ms. I don't want to undo the exact chocolate. Right? I had M&Ms, and I love this one they're rolling out at the moment, where each colour of M&M defines a certain part of progress or a celebration, right, that they're working towards. Right, and they roll them out quite consistently with their team. They've got their own cadence and schedule that they do it, but it's very focused around the key activities of the business now. So it's beyond the rack and file stuff that you should be celebrating, each and every week as it comes up or every month, and it extends into, okay, so as our team, our focus for the next month is blah, to win 200 customers. Let's recognise progress and celebrate wins. Right, and where I see it work really well is you'll launch that at the start of the month. right? And then all of your meetings within your team, so your sales meeting, for example, your one-to-ones, your training meetings, any other company-wide meetings, there's something in each of those agenda items that will recognise progress towards that goal, right? So we're building momentum. It's that 1 degree piece. It's that atomic habit piece, right? Where we're consistently saying, hey, we're going to recognise this progress so that it builds, right? Great.
Yeah.
A blue M&M, a little fun pack of blue M&Ms, right? It's not the M&Ms. It's the fact that we're recognising progress amongst our peers.
Yes.
Right? We're lighting fires within rather than relying on lighting fires underneath the people, right? And as a team, the tide is lifting all parties. They're the types of celebrations where we really need to make sure that we're aligning our team around what we need to achieve. When we get to the end of that period, right, we look back and say, hey, here's what we set out to achieve. Here's where we got. We recognise progress. We celebrate the wins, and then we set our goals for the next one. And away we go with that next piece of celebration, right? It doesn't have to be big parties going. In fact, most of the time I've had big parties with teams where they celebrate. Someone's cut up real loose and there's been collateral damage out of it, right? I've had people vomiting taxis that I've had to take home, right? Kicked off public transport, seen punch-ons, you've seen all
It's usually you doing that. So, like, suddenly you've got responsibility for someone else.
Yeah.
That's a joke. That's not bad.
I know. I'm very
It's always me.
I'm very responsible, except when I'm not responsible. So for me, it's very much about systemizing our celebration. We've got our rack and file, right, and then finding the common purpose items, which is where the real growth in the business comes. Right? It's beyond individual. Where this is step one, right, where we're starting to get yourself aligned.
What I really like about this is, yes, we care about birthdays. Yes, we care about work anniversaries. And I like that there was a mention of we're going to acknowledge it. Also, there's a little gift. Maybe there's a little gift. And, I mean, that stuff doesn't have to cost the world. That's the other thing. What I also really liked was it wasn't focused on we're going to have a huge blowout every time we do something as a team. This can be, the reward can be chocolate. The reward can be we're recognising you publicly, we're giving you the praise, pat on the back, thanks very much. And these tiny little reward stuff is really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're fundamentally right. So how we celebrate is where this gets interesting. For me, there are three types of celebrations. We've got internal celebrations that are amongst your team.
Yes.
Right? So you celebrate, if you're a small business, you celebrate as your business, right, or amongst your team, and they are celebrations amongst you, right? Team of six, right? You make progress or you celebrate a big win and you do it through whatever your nominated lever is. Fantastic, right? Really powerful at growing momentum within the team. Second piece is around how we celebrate team out, and your team goes out to the rest of the business. This is a fantastic type of celebration when you're trying to build the broader business when you're trying to build the broader business around an initiative that your team's doing.
Yeah, amazing.
Right, so let's just say again, I work heavily in sales. It's a sales team wanting to really drive a growth initiative, but you need the support of the customer care team, right? Referrals. You need the support of the customer care team to be looking for those opportunities, right? Fantastic. We need to be bringing that external, internal to the business, but external to the team. We need to be bringing that team into the celebrations, which is why I call internal celebrations out.
Yeah.
Once you start to roll them through, and there's so many cool things you can do with celebrations around building up intrigue, right? Throwing those M&Ms out on a desk, right? Putting a big sign in the office, have you seen the blue M&M, right? Ask me where, ask me why, ask me how, right? You can really create some fun. And once you get the teams talking about those celebrations, and I've seen some terrific examples about celebrations along the journey. One at the moment has worked around pineapple lollies, right? Love it. It represents cash, which is that they're in a finance business, and it's terrific, the thought behind that. The third piece, though, so you're celebrating internally within your team.
Yeah.
You're celebrating internally out, right? Comes from when you're celebrating externally to your team in, and this is one where the leaders get on board, right? So, and those who work with me, they know I talk a lot about. Take your celebration, take your initiative to the highest level you can in your business. Get them on board with the blue M&M, right? Because once they're on board, they'll start to look for progress. Your team gets higher visibility.
Yeah, I love that.
What happens when you have higher visibility? What comes from it? More
opportunities, more success, more things start presenting at your doorstep.
Yeah, stuff just happens, right? So I love that when you can get the leaders involved because, A, they start to look for for opportunities, but B, they start to actually want to celebrate it with you. Right?
Yeah.
And that is so empowering for your team, or if you're a business owner, right, when you're looking at it yourself and you're starting to celebrate down, right, it builds consistency, it builds great morale, it builds resilience into your team when things aren't going well, right? So we're looking at, you've got your rack and file celebrations that you should just be doing as a base level, right? There's no excuse now.
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
You'd be shocked how easy calendars are to set up these days.
Yeah, and I know from polling so many sales leaders that they find it difficult to remember.
Yeah.
Right? It's not intent, it's execution. The second piece is you then start, the second type of celebration is you start to celebrate around specific activities or goals that you're looking for. Beautiful. Right? We've then got ways you celebrate. Internal within your team, internal out, right? And then external in. Right? The last piece here is around measuring progress of those celebrations. Right? When you see that this works as a leader or a business owner, you start to really buy into it. When your team sees that it works, you don't get just you buying into it, you get your broader team. So that every time you run these type of initiatives around celebrations, they get better and better in terms of their output, right? And the teams really appreciate them. There is so much to be said around having strong relationships with your people and around them feeling appreciated.
Yeah.
Right. And I can absolutely tell you, I've been in roles before where I didn't leave the role despite more money or better conditions or a better job being on the table because I liked working with my leaders.
Yeah. People don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad leaders.
Yeah. I've certainly heard that a number of times. And I think for me that even where you're having difficulties within an organisation, right, if your business is not hitting all its targets, or if you're not necessarily getting everything right from a customer delivery point of view, when your team feel valued, it can often help ease some of the pain around that. And for me, I think my challenge out there for sales leaders today and for leaders of businesses today is to first thing is to go and get your basics right. Your rack and file celebrations. Today, why do tomorrow what you can do today, right way back in episode 27, is to actually go right now and sit down and say, okay, I'm going to put some time in my calendar to roll all anniversaries and birthdays in. Right, that's number one. Number two is to then go and start to think about some things you can celebrate together as a team, right, how you can get everyone engaged and aligned around that, and give it a go, right? And if you don't have time, nominate someone in your business or in your team to do it. Nominate someone who's really up and about now and get them in and say, hey, right, you are chief celebrator within the business, right? Get out and make it happen and back them in, give them a little bit of money. They don't have to be big things, right? And away you go. That's, for me, is what I'd love to see come out of today's episode from people.
Are there any stipulations before people run out and go and do that? Because immediately I'm like, oh, what can you and should you not do?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I did a little while ago, I made a mistake, and this was absolutely my fault, was one of our clients had a huge win. They'd won a huge, the Australian Small Business Champion, I won't know who it was, but they won, and it was a national award. And because of the type of work, I sent over 2 slabs of beer and a bottle of scotch.
Yeah.
It's a really nice gesture.
I think it is.
Until the boss rang me and said I've actually had to go onto the wagon. I'm no longer drinking. Started to get a bit problematic. And I was like, okay, all right, we're no longer ever sending booze again. Because sometimes we don't know, as leaders, we don't know what's happening maybe to our clients or what that looks like. So do you have so for me, one of the tips I would give, I love this, but maybe just check on the alcohol thing prior if you're going to be celebrating in that way.
Yeah.
But are there any other things we should be thinking about?
Yeah. I have 3 things.
Great.
Number 1 is avoid alcohol. It's actually one of my rules.
Great, love that.
I do not encourage alcohol being any part of celebration because it can lead to great celebrations being soured.
Oh, and for me, the guilt level where he was, and don't get me wrong, I'd had drinks with this guy before. I knew that was a drinking team, but it just became a little bit problematic.
Yeah, and you just avoid it, right?
Yeah, 100%. Never again will I do that.
Yeah, absolutely good, right? You only need to happen once, right? Number 2, right, is around avoiding, and it's an extension of alcohol, avoid anything that you think just might be controversial. You know the businesses pretty well, right? To some businesses, giving teams dinners out is not a problem. To other businesses, when they've got an expense freeze and you're rolling out dinners, right, it can come across with the wrong message.
Absolutely.
Right? you just try and be sensible and avoid anything that's going to be controversial.
Agreed.
Right. And the easiest way to do that, which is number 3, is to break celebrations down into small surprises, right, that can go across the whole team. Right. So rather than one big prize where it's a big voucher for someone, which can create animosity, right? You might have lots of little vouchers, or you might have lots of chocolate. I often will default to chocolate, right? I happen to have a sweet tooth. Those who know me know that Noosa Chocolate is the brand that I tend to send a lot out of. Right, it was thousands of dollars last year. Nick, if you're listening from Noosa Chocolate, we've got to have that coffee one day.
Hey Nico.
But for me, it's very much about making sure that everyone can participate in the celebrations.
Yeah.
So you keep them small and chunky. And for the most part, that then avoids trouble. Right. In fact, if you get number 3 right, you then very often end up avoiding alcohol because alcohol is expensive.
And controversial stuff.
Yeah, and controversial stuff. And for me, it's when in doubt, go food. Right. It's such a good way to do it.
Everyone eats. I mean, that's a winner. I love that motto.
Yeah.
Let's just get food. Okay, that sounds great. And I really like the idea as well, because one of the things that I think, one of the pitfalls I think we could really see here is people don't need stuff. We don't need more things. The idea of giving someone like, here's a stress ball that I'm going to put in my desk drawer or something like that.
Yeah.
Chocolate's going to be consumed. And if it's not by them, someone else in the team will 100% take that off their hands. But there's always children roaming around somewhere in their lives. But also just the ability to also support smaller businesses. The coffee shop down the road that does a $5 voucher.
Yeah.
The little shop on the corner that everyone goes to for lunch.
Yeah, little things definitely work. For me, I like getting around a theme of a celebration, right, in terms of where we're at. All right, before we finish up, nugget from you today.
Really big takeaway for me will be around just keep it small and we'll celebrate everything.
Yeah.
I like the theme idea, but I really like that it doesn't have to be the extravagant adventure that most people will go, oh, I've got to have a team celebration. Yeah. I'm up for $1,000 for lunch.
Yeah, understood.
This very small, little, brilliant, regular pat on the back and how rewarding it is for the team.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Well, for me, I did most of the talking, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is your baby.
Actually, mine would be that I'm going to get photos of you dressed up as a T-Rex and fantastic. I'm in control today, so I'm going to say that's what we're going to end on. Have a fantastic week, everyone. See you in 7 days. We've been your friends in business.
I'm going to go kill this octopus.
I've been tried and you know I've been tested.
Thank you for listening to the Friends in Business podcast. This episode was brought to you by your hosts, Ben Wright and Jemimah Ashleigh, recorded in beautiful Noosa, Queensland. For more insights and resources, visit Ben at strongersalesteams.com and Jemimah at jemimahashleigh.com. If today's podcast has helped you, we'd be so grateful if you could leave a review and share with someone you know. This will help more people in the world benefit from the hard work we're putting in to bring you the best content we possibly can.